Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Mike Haspil, and Wyatt Turk from Jacket Clothes Painting. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Michael Vinan.
What's up, guys?
So I definitely pledged to talk more this podcast than I did last podcast.
You were muted for 3 hours, dog.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but you were muted for 3 hours.
I mean, you couldn't say anything. You couldn't figure it out.
I mean, it was obviously you. The picture, it looked like a picture, but he muted and froze his camera at the same time. So
He also turned into a cartoon man.
What did you tell people about that piece of artwork?
It was a rare disorder that you have.
It's like being able to see my veins through my skin because I'm so white.
You just spontaneously turn into a cartoon.
You photograph very 2D, and
I honestly thought it was the photo that ages instead of Rob.
his Dorian Gray picture.
His Dorian Gray.
If he came out looking old as fuck this episode, that would have been the situation.
Fortunately, I was on the couch underneath the cat pile, and not only did they keep me warm, but they also gave me a portion of their magic.
Nice. So you have 9 lives now, and you can do Catwoman things.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
That's a fact. It's a standard Rob B situation. But the whole gang is back together. Despite cat powers and 2D art disabilities and stuff, we're here. LVO is this weekend.
Exciting.
It is super exciting. With 1,000-man single tournaments, the largest tournament in history of mankind for 40K. But probably any war game.
I think just in history of mankind.
Yeah, just all time. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's amazing. Most people are traveling tomorrow, myself, Wyatt included. If you're traveling to LVO and you're listening to this podcast right now on your way, hey, come by, say hi. We're always down to kick it. I know tons of people on Twitch earlier today said they were going. We're going to try to do something in a convention hall. Wyatt and I are going to try to do a guerrilla battle report, which would be a rare piece of battle report footage on this platform now in 2020. We're going to try to do after action recaps Friday night, Saturday night live on Long War TV on Twitch from our hotel room at the Bally's, the official hotel of old ladies smoking cigarettes and drinking beers at 6 a.m. on slot machines. But the Long War doubles is going to be Sunday morning. If you're going to be in the Long War doubles, hey, low stress. Don't even worry about it. The BCP app will be loaded. You'll be able to register on your app. So download that app if you don't have it, BCP Player. We don't care about list submissions. It's honor system. Follow the rules for 1,000 Army construction. Literally, even if you don't upload it to the app, at least bring a printout if you can, please. I'm hopeful. But what we are calling out is we're calling anyone who wants to help us do paint and theme judging. We have printed out rubrics for you guys. It is a huge help to us with 68 to 70, maybe even 80 to 100 teams like we had last year. Currently, I think we're at 70, but a lot of people sign up on the day. So, man, you would come in clutch if you just came by and helped us out. It's only going to be me, Alan, and Wyatt. That's my cue for Wyatt to throw his joke in on that one.
Oh, yeah. If you guys show up, I'll make Kenny jerk you off.
He's also going to give you a shirt.
Literally billions of transferable handies.
Yep. I messed up with that currency. And you might even get yourself a free shirt from Jack Loves Painting.
Yes. I will have my event exclusive tees for 2020 for free. Just first come, first serve. Come grab one on Sunday.
It's going to be amazing. So getting that LVO information out of the way, don't worry. We have a lot more LVO to discuss here. We're going to be doing predictions and stuff like that, but it is our tradition to do a Would You Rather.
Yep. Would you rather poop in the only toilet at a party knowing that you'll clog it, or take a rank nasty poop in the bushes in the backyard?
Yeah, that's an easy one.
But hold on, we got to know more. When you say a rank nasty poop in the bush in the backyard, you evil ass genie, what kind of bush? First off, toilet paper available or not? And thirdly, do I have to go back into the party? Like, can I just leave the party from that point?
No. It's like
you got to stay at the party.
Back. That would be rude to leave afterwards.
You just got to play it right.
For clarification, the kind of shit you need a shower after.
Oh, well, I guess I'm showering at the party.
Jeez.
Is this single bathroom also the only shower at the party?
Yes.
Yes, that is amazing.
Okay. And I am unable to use this bush to clean myself?
I mean, improvise, adapt, and overcome, dog.
Is there a hose outside I have access to?
I don't know. Maybe.
Most houses have hoses.
Are there lots of people outside and I'm about to hide behind a bush kind of far away from the house?
Yeah, I mean, like, definitely you'd have to hide behind the bush.
Okay.
If people saw you, you'd get like a public defecation ticket.
So
They have those?
Yeah.
is there a way for me to clog this toilet and not have everyone instantly know it was me? Or is like there a line and everyone's just going to know it's me?
No, like it will ruin the vibe.
Haspil, what are you thinking? What do you think?
I'd totally destroy that party. I'm like, you just got to play it right? So if you act like you're obliterated, right, then it becomes this awesome story that people tell for years. Because they're like, dude, Haspil like destroyed the bathroom and then he thought he was home and took a shower and walked out naked. Done. And you're completely sober. You're just completely sober, but you play it that way. And then people are like, he was destroyed at that party and you don't get blamed for it.
Oh my God. Haspil threw a curveball at it with like, on top of shitting in this bathroom and everyone knows it, I'm going to come out that bathroom naked. Oh my God. Even better. You shove all your clothes in the you shove all your clothes in the toilet too. Like you just jam them in there. Like you tried to flush them down the toilet.
Nobody will know about this.
And like, so you just come out like just naked, like, what's up, guys? Everything's fine.
What up? Where are your clothes?
What are you guys doing in my house?
Oh man, I don't even know what happened.
Haspil, that is the best answer I've ever heard.
It's gonna be bad. But then you still got to Uber home and then you're naked. So it's going to be, I have a feeling the cops are going to get called one way or another.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you just got to spend one night in the drunk tank for this epic lifelong story and a complete avoidance of feeling embarrassed.
Yeah.
And then the story even gets better because when other people are talking about it, they're like, you were obliterated. And then you can counter with, actually, I hadn't drank that night. I was totally sober. I knew exactly what I was doing.
You know what? Your confidence in that answer.
Yeah.
I'm stealing your answer. I want to do that too.
I was going to shit inside. I was going to shit in the house because I can't smell. And I was just going to poop on myself or something. Just be like, whoops.
He's like,
I may have partied with a rugby team or two back in the day. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. That's all the clarification I'm going to give.
Whew. Epic. Would you rather? Haspil instantly broke it. Like, that is the only answer. I love it. Come out like just soaked too, like wet the shit out of yourself and
it's all wet.
Like just come out just soaked.
Just say something like, I'm wet. Where'd my pants go? I'm wet.
So they run in there, they see like your jacket, your socks, your shoes, everything just jammed in the toilet bowl. Oh my God, dude. Oh God, it's so good.
Thanks.
Oh my God. So kicking it back to Rob, after one of the most hilarious Would You Rathers I can remember this year.
Pretty good one.
We got some Tabletop Marketplace to talk about.
Yeah,
nerd shit.
I shudder to think what you guys talked about last week. Anyways,
we talked about nerd shit. I was a fucking professional.
I could tell.
Yeah.
So Sisters aren't on the block or the menu for next week. It looks like it's Warcry, and they split up the Necromunda releases. So there's still like, I think 7 or 8 different Sisters releases that come out. No idea when they're going to be, but hopefully they're relatively soon because I think people are going to want the majority of that stuff still. I think will be good, but of course we'll find out at LVO. So coming out next, we're going on pre-order this Saturday to come out next week, is a whole bunch of Warcry card packs. So a lot of stuff that hadn't already come out yet. And they're actually coming out with a couple of new war bands. So they've got the Gloomspite Gits, Stormcast Eternals, Night Haunts. Those are all $50 each. And then they've got this really cool looking model. It's called the Ogrid Myrmidon, which is like that, just like the spellcaster dude from Zinch, but with a spear. It just looks pretty dope. He's going to be $40. The Spire Tyrants Warcry Warband for $50, which is the Chaos Slaves to Darkness looking duders. I think they may be not the Evern Chosen, the the Vanguard, not on horses. So like they're basically Primaris Chaos Warriors, just like bigger and better.
What are they called?
The warband is called Spire Tyrants, but the Vanguard are like Archaon's horse dudes, knights, but they're just bigger. They're
basically the Black Legion.
Yeah. They're just like straight up like G's.
Oh, I need it.
Yeah, they're pretty. There used to be this army where it ran like a couple squads of those, Archaon and a caster, and that was the army for the longest time. It was like 2,000 points. Some Horus Heresy novels, and then skipping down to Necromunda, they're coming out with the Palatine Subjugator Patrol for $42, which is just 6 of the dudes with the riot shields and like the various close combat weapons, which look pretty tight. The Necromunda Corpse Grinder Cult for $42 as well. Tactics packs, dice sets, cards, $15 each.
Necromunda Corpse Grinder Cult? What's their job in the Undercity? What do they do?
Probably make corpse starch for everybody to eat.
Yeah, professional grinders of corpses.
Oh God,
I would guess.
That's fucking heinous.
Bring out your dad.
Yep, bring out your dad. That's tomorrow's dinner. Corpse starch.
Yep.
Well, you don't think they eat real food?
Nah.
No. Okay, I just want to double check. That's what I thought. Thank you for.
Well, you might like them. They're the first Chaos faction in Necromunda.
Yep.
Oh shit.
Chaos culty.
Some of their models are actually really fucking cool.
When they're out of yellow and orange, remember, go green from the Soylent Corporation.
That's what I was thinking.
Tasty. It's made out of seaweed from the oceans.
Oh,
that's what it's made out of.
Yeah,
the bounty from the oceans.
Don't ask questions.
Yeah, don't ask questions. Just eat it.
Sillies.
Or go home. If you've seen the movie, you know what that means.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Then they're splitting up that big set of terrain, the Dark Uprising terrain. So there'll be a set, some sort of combination. We don't exactly know quite yet. For $185 instead of $290, $185. And then they're going to sell the columns and walls separately and the platforms and stairs separately. Platforms and stairs are $60, and it looked like those are just like optional stuff to go like 2-tier. And then the columns and walls are just to kind of build out your Zone Mortalis, but you need a board. So that's like the thing is you got to have a board to put all this stuff on. So I don't know what's happening there, but that is all the releases that will go on pre-order this Saturday for release next week into February. What else did I have to talk about? So, and Humble Bundle is back on for Black Library. It's back up. So there's some good deals to be had over there. They did
nice. Yeah, the last Humble Bundle, man, I'm barely even through the ones. I mean, I'd read most of those books, but the few that I had not read, I'm not even through those yet. They had so much for like $20. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, $15-$20. You get a lot. And
is it like physical books or
it's ebooks, but they also had audio dramas on there too. The last one, I don't know about this one.
Oh, yeah, speaking of audio, the third Night Lords book is on audio now, but it's not on Audible yet, which is weird. Because the last one released simultaneously, and you could like pre-order it like any other release on Audible, but this one is like only on Black Library right now with no banner for like, coming to Audible on this day. So I don't know what they're doing with that.
Huh.
Is it not on Audible at all? Like you can't
you can't even keyword, you can't search it, nothing. It doesn't exist for some reason. But you can buy it on Black Library and their Black Library app, which
That's odd. Yeah, that would be a poor decision.
So that's basically all the new release stuff that we know about. There's a lot of Star Wars Legion stuff that got pushed back. We don't know exactly what's going on with that. Adepticon looks to have an exclusive Naboo fighter for Star Wars X-Wing. There is a big sale going on over at Miniature Market, up to 50% off. I think there's over 30 different X-Wing ships. So it's pretty good deal. We're doing a giveaway actually on Spiky Bits too. We kind of slid it out there and announced it, but we'll be talking about it more over the next couple of days. Where you can. Are they
making the Mandalorian ship for that, the Razor Crest?
At some point, maybe.
That's what I want.
But I haven't really heard. So there is a big giveaway for one of each ship. It's like $900 in retail value. So we'll have the details up on there in the near future.
Okay. And Nova Star said Void Stalker. Is that book?
Yeah, it looks like maybe they put it up there today. They released it within the last 5 seconds to make me look bad.
Oh yeah, totally.
They heard it, and Wyatt just said that, and now released it.
No, the same thing that happened last week with the Grey Knight and Stormhawks and shit. Like, it wasn't in the book.
It was not in the book, and then we checked, and then it was in the book. It was some straight BS.
Yeah.
Yep. Boom.
To be fair, I haven't checked since the 18th, so it could have happened any day.
Yeah, truth.
And there's sort of this little thing that's happening now about airbrushes.
Oh yes.
What's are airbrushes?
What is an airbrush? So airbrushing is no longer a crime.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mean we don't have to get shamed by GW people anymore?
No.
Well,
so
we don't use Citadel Air, so yeah, we're doing it the right way.
I might if it's good.
It's not spoilers.
I like it. I'm the contrarian, and I'm the one who likes things easy. And I'm like, this paint matches my brush paint, and I will use it. I actually really do like Citadel Air paints. I will say that in their video or whatever, the guy just pours it straight into the brush, which you can do. I would definitely add flow improver to it. If you're going to use Citadel Air.
So he says, and that's Caleb, guys. Shout out.
Caleb Wisenbach from CK Studios.
Yeah, literally, dude's a legend. It's awesome to see him over there, which is kind of interesting, which is a whole other podcast that there was this picture of him training Duncan to airbrush like from August. And now he's the guy. Interesting.
Conspiracies.
You could say that perhaps he filmed
Wheels Within Wheels.
Why he was over there.
Yeah. It's possible that this was filmed back then. We don't know. But he's an amazing guy, and so it's awesome to see that video. To what Haspil's referring to is he's like, these are thinned and airbrush ready right at the pot and paintbrush ready. And he pours it in the pot. And anybody who's airbrushes a lot, like all of us in this chat, Haspil's been airbrushing the longest. He got me into it. That made me cringe. I was like, no.
Doesn't he crack it like an egg and like
it just dips? Yeah.
It's very weird. And there was lots of jump cuts, so you know that it was like sputtering and not spraying correctly.
If you back the needle out a little bit and you're using like a 3.5 or bigger, you can do exactly what he did. And Haspil, this is my theory, is that's fine. Like, because if it's a thin paint and that's the consistency, and all you're doing is painting the model green, because he's going to be following the GW painting formula when he does his videos, and that's solid colors with Tron-esque edge highlighting. That's GW paint jobs in a nutshell. So I predict the tutorials are going to be that. Like, he's going to show you some sub-assembly techniques, how to make the airbrush work for you. He's going to spray these colors straight on the model, right out. So it's like, it eliminates the need for multiple thin coats. It's just going to go on. It's going to be smooth enough. And then he's going to show you how it's also paintbrush ready. And I will say, I do love airbrush paints for paintbrushing. Because
they're thinned.
Yep.
They are thin. They're just not, well, they're not as thin as I would like it to go through an airbrush. Let me put it that way.
Correct.
I will say this, however, right? One of the biggest obstacles to people getting into airbrushing, in my opinion, other than the equipment, right, is mixing your own paint and finding that perfect consistency to get the good flow. That is a huge obstacle, right? But if you're starting off with Citadel Air, you're kind of like 80% there. You just add some flow improver and you're probably good. You're in the ballpark anyway, and you're not going to clog things up, or you're not just going to shoot water straight out and watch it just, what I call windshield off of your model.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We've all done that many times.
Yeah. So in that sense, I think that's a good thing. It gets more people into it. And then the other thing, and I'm going to go back a couple of years. GW made something they called an airbrush. It was not an airbrush.
Oh yeah.
It was a paint sprayer. But I have one. I still have it. It was shaped like a flamer, and I love that stupid thing. I don't use it ever. I don't.
Obviously,
think I ever
it's
used it.
fucking awful. It's dope looking.
But I totally bought that. So I'm like, GW, if you are listening, if you release some kind of like gunmetal gray or black airbrush with an Aquila on the side, I will buy one. I may never use it.
So I don't want to rain on your parade too much there, but I have it on good authority from some solid sources that there is not a outside sourced airbrush that's been shipped into the States from a manufacturer such as one out of China, Japan, or even Germany.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Which would be the way it would be a licensing deal. So they might not come out the gate with an airbrush, but they may come out the gate with, I do believe there will be a thinner. Like, I think even though in that video he says it's ready out of the pot, if they're going to come out with a whole new range of airbrush paints, it's ludicrous to think they're not going to be a medium.
Oh man,
thinner.
I can't wait until they come out with their how big is this? 200 milliliter bottle of Lamian medium for like $600.
That's about right for the market.
$50 is probably what it would be.
and what Wyatt's like pointing out too is one of the things I don't like about Citadel Air is those, if you're gonna release an airbrush paint, those bottles are the worst.
They're the worst, and they're never going to change.
Yeah,
That's
they're
their
terrible.
brand.
It's like
So-
take a note from Vallejo Air.
I don't think Games Workshop likes getting into markets they can't dominate, and they would never be able to come out with like their own airbrush when there's already Badger, Iwata, Harder Steenbeck, Pash, Talon, even Masters. Like they can't compete with Masters, so they'd have to license it, and I don't think they want to do that.
Yeah, probably not.
Yep. So they'll make the paint, and I think it's an amazing thing. I've been waiting for this for fucking 10 years.
No, it's gonna be good. Like there is so many airbrush tutorials out there. I don't know how we keep coming out with new ones.
Yeah, we've been making airbrush tutorials. Everyone on this podcast has made an airbrush tutorial.
Oh, I know, because Games Workshop creates all this free advertisement.
Yep.
Hey, it's what's coming out this Saturday, Grey Knights and Dark Angels.
I'm stoked because
Grey Knights and Dark Angels video.
now I don't have to like live in this world where I get shamed by some percentage of the community for cheating at painting.
Yeah. And guess what? They make that Grey Knight steel in Citadel Air.
Oh boy.
Yep, I sure
You
do.
could have a Grey Knight army painted in a day.
Probably. Yeah.
Contrast.
Bro, but I don't want to see. I don't want to see.
Not that airbrushed. It would just be silver and blue. That'd be it.
Which actually is pretty cool because the contrast paints, as if treated as like just transparents, will combo off really well. If you do a bunch of airbrushing work and you just completely throw away the whole concept of spray painting everything with that Wraithbone crap. If you just like, I'm going to airbrush all the shit I'm going to airbrush, and you just start cutting in a couple of bonus details with contrast, like that is a world I can get inside of, because that is clean base coats that looks like chiseled, and maybe some other, like the pants, like using the transparent or the contrast snakebite leather. You're like, I painted this dude's pants with that shit. You know what I mean? Like, and it's suddenly now I can get behind how these armies are gonna look. It's not this whole just slap that shit on, like combo with the airbrush. That is a world I can get behind. Good job, GW. Welcome to the.
I can tell you with like Grey Knights right now, what I would do if I was painting a Grey Knight is airbrush that Grey Knight steel and use contrast, thinned or not, to do all the purity seals, all the little extra stuff that's on there, because you only need to do one coat. It's just dot, for a purity seal, just dot it on there. You're done. You could paint a Grey Knight army really, really fast to 3-color,
using GW's guides or like the way they like to paint. You could paint most armies really fast because their system is not one of so when you see like me and Wyatt and Rob's airbrush tutorials, you can see we're always working a transition game, right? Because that's ultimately what the funnest part about airbrushing is getting those slick transitions and those crisp lines and making them look super fantastical. But that's not even, GW doesn't even paint that way. They don't care.
No, they don't.
That's not going to be necessary.
If one of their first airbrushing tutorials isn't zenithal highlighting, they're messing up. Because that's the easiest technique to do with an airbrush.
Which is interesting because Caleb, he's a master of that shit.
Super easy.
So they picked the right guy.
It's barely an inconvenience to jump in on that.
Go ahead.
I'm looking forward to when these tutorials come out and then people are like searching 40K airbrush, and I'm like, yes, discover the most secretly easy set of tutorials on the internet.
Yep. Just FYI, there is a aircast thinner.
I knew it.
But it comes in like one of their tiny pots, and it's like
I think it's the big one. It's 780.
Yeah, fuck that.
24.
That's not much.
How many of those pots equal a 200 milliliters, Rob?
Well, it's 24. What are those? 24.
Those are 24 millimeters.
24 milliliters. Yeah.
So what is that? 8? What are they? Almost $8 each retail?
Yeah, they're.
Wyatt, $66.
Oof.
$66.
Yeah, not cheap.
$66 to get your 200 milliliter bottle.
It's preposterous, and it's they don't have a drop top on it like the Vallejo ones, so you're gonna waste the shit out of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So do yourself a favor. I'm gonna buy a bunch of these GW air paints for sure. I'm gonna give them the good old college try, but I don't see myself moving off of Vallejo Flow Improver anytime soon.
But here's a secret trick, right? Because I've been using Citadel Air for a long time. Since they came out, because Gamers Haven was one of the prototype stores that had it for a long time. So I've been using it for probably 2 years. Don't forget that whatever's left in the pot of in the cup of your airbrush can go back in the pot, even if you used Flow Improver. Mm-hmm. Don't pitch that stuff out. Don't rinse it out.
Veteran move right there from the veteran playlist of Mike Haspil.
Yeah, I mean, don't waste that paint. You're just like, hey,
that is an advantage
to do this, and I have this left. Put it back in the pot.
That's actually something that's really hard to do with the dropper tops. So that is what I used to do back in the old days when I started my business, and I was using all GW paints. I literally had blood red that was like now literally like airbrush thinned completely because of how many times I'd poured it back in there over the year. So yeah, that's a veteran tip, man. Excited as all hell for all this. So let's move on to our 2-part meat and potato section of the podcast. We're going to start off with LVO lists and list predictions, final top 8 predictions, all that shit. Right out the gate. Iron Hands?
Oh, lots and lots.
Seas of black and silver.
I feel like we need to shout out Team Brohammer right out the gate.
They're definitely bringing the heat to make a point.
It's like that's Lennon, Siegler's team. Siegler made the switch to Iron Hands off of his Tau. Dude is a gangster. I'm speaking of the right team, right? That's all them?
No, Brohammer's out of Canada.
What are they? Oh, they're Florida man. They're
shit.
They're God damn it. Well,
I always forget.
Siegler is also he's the Florida Man podcast, right? Isn't that their gym? God, somebody hit me up in the chat. I don't want to mix up my peoples. Richard, we had Richard in an interview.
Warhammered. Is it Warhammered?
Probably.
I think it's Warhammered.
Warhammer, Florida Man, Warhammered or Warhammered? Fuck, I don't know.
I think it's just Warhammered.
I know the guy's fucking name. Brohammer is Florida. I fucking knew it. They're Florida men, Brohammer. So the same people? Someone tell me the same people.
I don't know.
Everybody's saying it's Bro. I mean, sounded right. I thought they were out of Florida.
Me too. I mean,
I'm thinking of something else.
Me and Siegler used to smoke bath sauce together, like in Jacksonville. like, yeah, that's what I thought. Like, so yeah, Siegler, Lennon, all of them. It's 9 of them, right? It's fucking 9 of them. Yeah. They are all dope guys. I've interacted with many of them. We actually interviewed Richard on this podcast. He's a Tau dominator. He's like the best Tau guy in the world right now. He's going to Iron Hands. John Lennon was running a prototype. He was running the Chaplain Dreadnought with some Iron Hands mixed with some white scars. He destroyed that ass. Beat me down at Soka Open, giving me my one loss. These guys are amazing, hilarious dudes, top level players. Their entire team has made the switch to Iron Hands. And there is a theme. They're all playing the same list, right?
Yes, for the most part.
For the most part. And the theme of that list revolves around 3 Chaplain Dreadnoughts?
Yeah.
And possibly a Leviathan? And a Leviathan? Yeah. Why is that Leviathan so good, and why are those Chaplain Dreadnoughts so good, Wyatt?
Well, because the Chaplain Dreadnoughts are characters, so you can't target them unless they're the closest unit. And the stuff that can target characters isn't typically meant to take out tanks, so they're very tough. And then with a couple of rules combinations, that Leviathan basically becomes unkillable.
Seems good. Business as usual for the Iron Hands.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So it seems like it's a Space Marine control list with 3 untargetable long-range weapon batteries and an unkillable Leviathan, who can fall back out of combat 6 inches, consolidate anywhere he wants because of that Warlord trait if he needs it in certain matchups.
Yeah, there's some different ones they could do. I don't know if they're doing this, but a real popular combo is to give him the 5-up feel no pain trait, which can then be increased by 1 with a stratagem to a 4-up feel no pain. And then in conjunction with the Ironstone Relic being nearby and Duty Eternal stratagem, it's half damage -1. And then you can also have somebody with the Gorgon's Chain nearby, which makes that Leviathan -1 to wound. And it's one of the few T8 dreadnoughts in the game, so it makes him even tougher.
It's brutal. I mean, we talked about it on our tactics discussion earlier today. This list is ridiculous. It's super powerful. It's possibly the new list, replacing the last season's Castellan Smash Captain list. It is really hard to match up against this list. When you go to an ITC format game where you have to pick your secondaries, there's really not a lot of secondaries offensively you can pick against that list and feel comfortable with your decision. Big Game Hunter is pretty much off the table. Headhunter, real hard. Mark for Death, similar situation. Like, there's a lot of mitigation there, and they're going to be working their ass off to get more objectives than you. Hold an objective, kill every turn. You're going to start struggling to kill things after the first 2 turns, and then they're just going to, if they don't, just crush you on turn 1 or turn 2. And these are top-level players, 9 of them. We're going to address some interesting Chaplain Dreadnought topics here in a second. But with a team this dominant in the ITC, all taking the same list, the same Iron Hands list. And we're talking the fucking occurred, they got nerfed, this, and the other thing. These are pure Iron Hands lists, not successors. This is the new shit. Now, if these 9 guys go in with their pedigree, and half of them make the top 8, which is entirely possible, this is the topic of this part of the show. What are the predictions? What are your GW, FAQ, post LVO predictions for a situation where some percentage of the field is running the exact same list? Multiple instances of that almost exact same list are in the top 8. And then if you go through the tournament and you see this list popping up over and over and over again, what do you think they're going to do?
Well, I think Chaplain Dreadnoughts are going to Legends. UnDP. I'm using one because, like, if you play with the big dogs, you got to be able to hang. So I'm bringing one, but I don't expect to be playing that model in competitive play after this event. I'm pretty sure that because it's out of print and it's pretty fucking powerful, GW is just going to move it to Legends or nerf it into not being useful whatsoever, as they typically do, because they don't like people buying recast Forge World stuff that's out of print. It's not good for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's an obvious one, right? Like they don't make the model. It should be in Legends and likely will be in Legends after this event.
They always bring stuff back though. They can just be like, hey, made to order Chaplain Dreads. We saw it was popular, but they said in their, if you read between the lines in their financial statement, they're basically at capacity on Forge World. So I doubt that's going to happen unless it hasn't already been planned for.
Yeah.
So what I like about this list though, like in the way these guys are playing it, like this is some hardball 40K. They're exploiting targets where like you can't shoot things, right? GW historically has said we don't like that. They nerfed the Salamander stratagem. They nerfed the Iron Hands Dreadnought stratagem. So you couldn't make like 10 Dreadnoughts. Like they do not like mass disallowed shooting elements of their game. And these guys, even after all the nerfs, found a way to do it again with these Chaplain Dreadnoughts, post-chapter approved and everything like that. So it's right back to business, right? The only thing you could really shoot at in their army is a fucking Leviathan if the terrain is right. And it's a Leviathan that you can't hurt, practically. It's almost a sucker's game, right?
Yeah, there are things you can do to it, but you have to have like the perfect matchup with the right units, that sort of thing. It's rough.
No, right. You can, to the echo in the chat, you could remove the character keyword from the Chaplain Dreadnought, but I just don't see it existing after this tournament. But what I like about this list is this list shows the competitive spirit of our community. You nerf it. Everyone cried about how I just made my Iron Hands list and I can't play it anymore. And these dudes are coming out with 9 Iron Hands lists. Nick Navati said, I think on his show, he said, damn, I wish I was playing that list.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's like,
one thing about during the fucking was like they targeted stuff that didn't need to be targeted, where all this other stuff that was what really made Iron Hands busted like slept under the radar, because what they saw was tons of people with Pharaohs powering up 3 executioners, which is like a middling tier list. Like you might go win positive, maybe go 4-2 or 5-1 with like good matchups, but it's not going to beat these Iron Hands lists that people are playing where they're exploiting the Dreadnoughts and the Feel No Pains and all that kind of stuff.
It's incredible. What's truly incredible, in my opinion, is that it shows you tell us the rules, tweak them. Like we said, the right thing to do is go to 11 and then start incrementally nerfing it just enough to see what happens. They nerfed it, and a lot of people thought it was a huge nerf and it made it unplayable, but it was a tiny nerf. But to your point and to what Brohammer is doing, they made a list even more deadly than what everyone thought was deadly. Like even more than this, and that's what you need the community to do at all times. You need the competitive community doing shit like this, coming up with these hot lists and these new strategies, new tactics, how to stack all these things together. So just to advance the topic, we've obviously talked in the past about removing successor chapters and super doctrines from being available to each other. This list doesn't even do that.
Yeah, so using straight up Iron Hands.
So that fix that a lot of people are calling for doesn't even apply to the new list, right? It's incredible. So and the super doctrine is amazing, obviously. Where obviously they ignore the moving penalties for heavy weapons and reroll the ones, but this list, would only be slightly throttled by you changing the way that super doctrine works on turn 1. If you went with the other route of removing access to doctrines on turn 1 and you have to start on turn 2, it only throttle the damage output a little bit because there's so much stuff built into the way they're playing those ballistic skill 2 dreadnoughts or rerolls and stuff. It's like
that is true, but I guess like we'd have to play test that out a little bit to get some good data on it, because is the answer being able for your opponent to have like a real turn 1? So like, is the doctrine being active at the top of turn 1 and then being able to go like super hardcore turn one, what does it? Or is it in fact all this other stuff? So it'd be interesting to test that out and like
in this list, in the case of this list, I think it's all that other stuff. The Leviathan is broken. We've been saying it since the new Marine decks dropped. It was already really good before all the new Marine stuff. It is preposterous. It is harder to kill than any knight. It has more damage output than any knight, and it is cheaper than any knight. Like, it is literally ridiculous. And then Chaplain Dreadnoughts are literally ridiculous. Untargetable. Hit on 2 last cannon batteries.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I definitely think we should move to a place where it's like if a model's out of stock, that's a different thing because like they're still listing it for sale. They'll probably make more. Yeah. If it's out of print, that shit needs to be in Legends like the day it goes out of print.
And I think there was definitely some feedback that they could have gotten from their at least their lineup playtesters but I think they're understaffed on the studio side for Forge World stuff, which they kind of alluded to again. And we haven't seen any solid updates since 2017. And a lot of these feel badsies, for units that suddenly became hot and then poof disappeared were all Forge World. Well, most of them. So, think back to 2017.
It's a trend. No, you're right. It's always been a trend. It's like, we like to dig into Forge World for the hot shit. Like, there's 1,000 units of Forge World catalogs that suck. But we like to pick the good ones. And these are a little outdated for the current way we play the game. And I'm glad that Brohammer picked up on it because you need to give the community and GW irrefutable data, like the same army, the same units over and over and over again, like Ynnari, like with the Castellan list. They added 100 points to that unit. They changed the cost of the stratagems that some of these guys got to use. They continuously messed with soul bursts for a long time. They're going to do it again. And I believe it will be legending Chaplain Dreadnoughts, as Wyatt said, and a redesign of the Leviathan Dreadnoughts defensive capabilities are my predictions, specifically post LVO. But what about LVO? Do you think one of these guys is going to win LVO? With their pedigree?
John Lennon's a really good player. The last time, I haven't looked at the rankings in a while, but the last time I looked, he was top 5, correct? So he's right up there. Like, he's in contention. Nick Nanavati's in contention. Brandon Grant is right up there. He could come back again. So it's kind of like right now looking like it's going to be who is going to try to dethrone Jim Vessel, and can Jim Vessel defend his position?
Can he come in and have a good enough performance? Because he doesn't need, like, he obviously needs to be in the top 8, and he obviously needs to lose. I don't even know if he can. I think if like Lennon won the whole thing, he wins no matter what happens to Vessel, right?
Yeah, it would depend on how close they are in points, because if it's less than it's less than 100.
I think Jim fell. I think Jim fell off at first.
Ooh, okay. So this is really interesting now. So can he get it back?
Yeah, can he get it back?
Yeah, because if it's less than 100 points, then it's kind of anybody's game.
Yeah, that's yeah. So I think it's really going to come down to what some of these guys are playing. Yeah, Richard Siegler boosted up to first after his last performance, and he's not going to rep Tau. So Richard running this list so confidently with his whole team, I think is an obvious candidate and probably the safest prediction for the ITC champion.
Right.
Like, that's a lot of confidence. That's a lot of fucking confidence to come off of your Tau with your boy is to play this Iron Hands list.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's definitely a move that speaks to his intent to win, because it seems like he doesn't want to leave it up to the generalship of playing his Tau. So like switching to this like exceptionally high meta, very, very strong Iron Hands faction compared to his Tau, which he is like probably the best Tau player in the world.
I love it because I do want to echo George, longtime viewer. He says, Richard will do well because this list can be played by morons, but with his skills that will face. I love that because, while strongly worded, not wrong, because he was playing a Tau army that took meticulous movement, meticulous placement, exploiting terrain, using the entire catalog of abilities they have, and he made that list work. That's a surgeon. That guy's a fucking surgeon.
Yeah. So I guess I should rephrase and say that he's decreasing the number of variables that could lead to his failure.
Yes, and that
make more sense.
He is increasing the redundancies of his success. Yes. Like it is. Yeah. I would put him on the top of my fantasy list if I could pick him. Like he is obviously, in my opinion, he's the number one candidate. Like it makes a lot of sense. Like that dude he's been doing it all season. This is crazy, and he battled his way up. It's going to be incredible. So that's I'm going to
throw up a wild and crazy prediction. I'm going to lump in with Don Hoosen just because his list is so crazy cool. And I love it. And it would make me so happy if he won LVO.
If Don Hoosen did it with
my prediction, Don Hoosen wins.
In his own words, 3 tractors and 3 angry birds. Let's do this thing. Yep. He's running triple Lord of Skulls and 3 Helldrakes, single like Lord D, like a Master of Possession. It isn't I fucking love it. It's bananas. Like, and
if Lord of Khorne, Lord of Skulls were free, I would play that army tomorrow. I'd play that at LVO.
And if they weren't gigantic Chaos Space Marine level of trim and bullshit.
Yeah, if they weren't like over $150 and all that kind of stuff, like I'd go out and do it because it just seems amazing.
And Don Hoosen's my spiritual chaos leader, and I've told him this to his face before. I'm disappointed with his last 2 performances, and I told him in chat that I need him to fucking win this thing. I need him to go 6-0 at least, because like I don't even know what to do anymore with my chaos life if he's not fucking on top. Because he was, for a while, maybe still was the top Chaos Space Marine player. And he's going to go with pure Chaos Space Marines to LVO with this list. And I think he can clinch number 1 Chaos Space Marine if he's not already on top or at least secure.
For sure. So like he and Jim will be competing for that 100%. But I mean, like I don't know about you guys, but whenever there's a big competition, I always like it to be uncertain. That's just me though. Yeah. Like I never.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, like I don't ever want to go to watch an event or like a competition and just have it be like, yeah, this dude's gonna like steamroll the competition and it's already decided. There's no way. Like the fact that there's like 9-10 dudes gonna be at LVO and any one of them could take it is really exciting for me.
As we move to the esports vibe more and more, the spectacle, the fantasy picks, everything. This is the most exciting time of year, in my opinion, for anybody who's remotely interested in competitive 40K. There's so much to follow. Fantasy leagues everywhere. I fucking love it. But
yeah, the fantasy leagues are actually pretty nuts. I mean, I haven't been plugged into that, so when I started seeing people's comments about, oh hey, you're on my fantasy team, I'm like, that's freaking genius. It's awesome.
I love that. Yeah.
It's really cool. And keep in mind, I'm somebody who hates fantasy football, but fantasy league 40K, I'm all in.
Oh yeah. All we need is a good app. We need like a killer app.
Sounds fantastic, man. Yep. So something else for the BCP guys to roll into their stuff, maybe.
Dude, fantasy app, BCP player fantasy app, even if it was just for the super big events, to start with.
Yeah, because it's just something to do with your boys. Like when League of Legends rolled out their like fantasy stuff for the LCS, like I didn't care until like 4 of my friends were like, oh, we're all going to do this. And there's going to be like gentlemen's bets and stuff like that associated with who wins. And then I was like super into it.
Yeah, you got to wager. You got to make it interesting.
If I can close this section out real quick with just one word of advice to like the Brohammer gangsters and all the other e-players, come in from now on repping the idea that this is going somewhere. John Lennon, no more rubber bands to delineate your units that you borrowed from your friends. That's, like you got to come in with the absolute hype, because your on-screen exposure at these events, you guys are like you guys are going to be the OGs of tomorrow. Like when this is like 10 years behind us and it's like fully esports and they got up and comers all the time, you guys are the ones who like paved the way. People like you, Richard Sigler, Jim Vessel, Don Hoosens, Nick Navadis, the list continues. I don't mean to leave anybody out, but elevate it. Bring that heat, because you will get left behind when GW and us are all combined into one force, and there's going to be on-screen camera, regardless of how you feel about our next segment we're going to do about conversions and paint jobs. If your shit doesn't look tight, they're not going to want to film you. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look like there's effort. They're not going to want to film you. And that's just the case. That's the facts. That's the rep. That's the brand. That's like, you know, looking a certain way with a cool, funny cosplay hat when you go play at a esports tournament. And that's what people see you. That's your brand, you know? And they're going to want to film you if that's what you do. So remember that. Bring the heat. Don't fuck that up. I'm rooting for you guys.
Truth.
But let's move over to GW Conversions LVO question mark. This is eloquently phrased by Rob. We're going to kick it off to Rob. We're going to talk
hostages.
And I was like, you tell them hostages. So we're going to talk about something else that's been hype in the media and directly about LVO and their conversion guidelines and everything like that. Rob put on a sick article. Tell us about it, Rob.
Well, I just noticed that it seemed like there was a lot of memes and a lot of, you know, conversation back and forth about the whole situation with LVO, you know, coming out of the gate and saying, hey, a lot of people made these are fielding Chaplain Dreadnoughts and Thunderfire cannons, but we didn't approve those conversions. So just so you know, and then they kind of went on to say what a conversion is. And, you know, we reserve the right to come by and pick up the models, give you a yellow card, whatever. So in theory, you know, folks had a little bit of time. I think that article came out on the 17th over on Frontline Gaming. But I just noticed like a lot of people had something to say about it. And then another site ran a kind of like an editorial that kind of I didn't agree with. So obviously when I see things I don't agree with at Spiky Bits, well, I'm going to write something about it, and I'm going to say how I feel about it. And that's basically what we did. And short of the story was that while I agree with the conversion policy, I don't think it's on LVO. I don't think it's their fault. I think we as players, they're going to share 3 hours at the table. Hey, if you can't find a Thunderfire cannon, just whatever you convert, make sure it's about the size and the right girth and width as a Thunderfire cannon. That's just respectable. We've been doing it for years. And I think I laid out in the article, like the past, since 2017, everybody tried to convert because it was either impossible to find or super expensive from Forge World, which I can respect. If you're like, yo, I don't have $300, $400 to buy that kit from Forge World, but I need one in my list, I'm going to convert something that looks about the same, and it's about the same size. Then it's all good. It's all good, but don't come in with like some popsicle sticks and like some paper mache and be like, this is my $400 tank or whatever. You know, like that's not going to do it. So that's basically what the article was about. That really, at the end of the day, it's Games Workshop that is making these rules and trickling down and making certain units super powerful that everybody, hey, I'm going to take 3 of these in my list because XYZ reason. And we've seen that for the past 2 years. It's not the players. We just do what we're allowed to do. It's not the TOs and things because they have a precedent. They're like, hey, 3D printed models, okay, not okay at this event. Painted models, okay, not okay at this event. Your conversions, okay, not okay at this event. You know, it's on them to put out the policy. It's on them to approve it. And it's on us to not be dicks about it. So I think it's on GW to stop doing this crazy frenetic like release schedule where they put out something and it's good and then it's not. It's nerfed into oblivion and there's some feel badsies from that. Or, you know, vice versa, where something isn't good, like Wyatt was like all about the Executioner tank. Looks dope. But when it came out, we were just like, why would people take this? And then poof, all the Marine Codexes came out and we're like, wow, this is really good. And obviously it was really good with Iron Hands for, you know, a hot minute, but not as good anymore, but still good. So it's on us as players to kind of police ourselves and be respectable to each other. But it's also on GW for creating these ridiculous situations, aka holding the hobby hostage, with the way they put things out and in the manner they do, that not only creates feel badsies, but creates a lot of sticky situations for both hobbyists and tournament organizers alike, in my opinion. And that's kind of what the post was about. And it went crazy. I mean, I'm looking over at the site right now. There's still 200 people reading it right now, the post. And I think I put it in chat as well. It's crazy. Everybody has something to say about it.
Yep. So that's your editorial on the subject live on Spiky Biz right now. This isn't a Boner Pills ad or a Sketchy Deals ad.
But there may be those in the post.
Yeah, I mean,
I have to sift through those.
But that's Rob coming at you with 10 years of observation, behind the scenes thought processes, what he's seen from the past, what he's seen now. And I agree with many of your points, Rob. Wyatt, how did you, as someone who's going to go to LVO, what was your take on this whole thing?
So I 100% stand with Frontline, and I agree with this ruling. What I disagree with is how they decided to roll it out. I felt that the way that they rolled this out created a negative community reaction. And if they had done it a different way, they wouldn't have gotten that. And so, I think there's a difference between, hey, this is the new rule. Moving forward, here you go. These are the stipulations, blah, blah, blah. If they had done all of that at the beginning of the month, or even the 2 weeks during list submission, it wouldn't have been a big deal. The fact that they came out after the deadline had passed, it was a day or 2 days after the deadline was over, and they were like, hey, that thing that has not been a big deal forever, it is now a super big deal. And also, you do not get a chance or time to rectify the situation. So they were like, if you are using a conversion and you did not submit it, because a lot of people didn't, and I think that's because it's never been a big deal before. So if you didn't submit, we can pull those models if they don't meet our standards, and you're going to get a yellow card. Okay. So what's the standard? And I mean, it's a really complicated thing. I agree with the rule, but I don't agree that they did it without giving people a chance to fix the situation. And that's basically the point. If they had come out a few days before with this, it would have been totally different. If they had come out after the deadline, but then extended a 2-day grace period, hey guys, we noticed you didn't submit a lot of submissions for all these Chaplain Dreadnoughts that we know a bunch of you are using proxies and conversions for. Here's 2 more days to make sure your bases are covered. I think there wouldn't have been nearly as much negativity about it.
That's a good point. Timeliness in all things, giving people enough time to prepare for them while maintaining an event at this level. And I think Frontline Gaming is, because I think, hearing Rob's point and hearing your point, because, he put a lot of it on GW, and you put a lot of it on the timeliness of the rollout. I definitely think it's in between those two, and I do think there might have been a little GW pressure there. I think they may have fumbled the release there. I think they were making excuses for them. I think they had their hands full. It's the biggest the event's ever been. I think some of their website elements are a little out of date for a company that's running an event of this magnitude yearly now, as they do move to Nevada now for their Crown Jewel event and the growth model that it's had. So that's a very honest critique, and I think really solid advice in the future. Earlier in the webcast, you said it took 9 hyperlink URL redirects to actually find the submission
Yes.
email.
Yeah. So when so I think the other part of this is it's a little shocking. So I woke up the day that they released this, because they released it kind of early in the morning, and of course it was all over social media by then. I had a number of people be like, oh, hey, did you see this? Is your army going to pass muster? Blah, blah, blah. Did you submit? And I was like, oh, okay, what is all of this? And kind of waded into it that day. And the first thing I thought was like, oh, I didn't submit. Maybe I should, because they're saying it's a big deal. And I went to try to find it. And so I was like, I've never done this before because I've never really needed to. I do conversions on my army, but my army is always what you see is what you get, to the letter of the tournament rules. So I've never worried about my conversions needing to be submitted because they're never that far out there, right? And so I was like, okay, well, how do I do this? So I think about it. I'm going to LVO. I'll go to LVO's website. I go to LVO's website. It's obviously not on the front banner page because that's usually where you start navigating. So I understand it not being there. So I click on Games Workshop events and it's not there. I click on 40K events. It's not there. I click on the 40K champions. It's not there. Okay, now there's two links to go different places. So I click the first one, which is the rules packet. It's not in the rules packet. So I have to go back, and then there's another link. And then that goes to Frontline's website. And then you have to go to the LVO 2020 40K page. So that's another one. And then you can finally see the thing that it's like, if you need to submit conversions, this is the link you click on, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that's where I saw that the deadline had passed, because nowhere in that webpage of explaining all of the things that you should know about LVO does it say anywhere that there is a deadline for conversion approvals. So I guess it was like assumed that that was supposed to be the same deadline as list submissions, but it didn't say that. So maybe it said it in the conversion thing that you.
But regardless,
none of that information was there.
Yeah, you make a good point. So like that's the advice. The advice section of that critique is, next year you'd have 1,000 people playing this year. Next year you're probably going to change venues and it's going to be even bigger. From jump, have all that stuff as professionally and graphically inputted into as many places as possible, starting at the checkout page. Make this a painless process. And so your staff is looking and approving conversions in real time since the moment people start checking out and buying their tickets. We support Frontline Gaming 100%, like you said earlier. Like we think that they're the NFL right now. Like this is the future of the hobby as far as the marriage of competition and hobby. And let's say a bunch of good things real quick. The battle ready guidelines for paint jobs as an elevated above the 3-color minimum passed. I used Haspil as an example. Haspil, tell me that horror story from like 4 years ago.
Oof. Yeah, I think it was like 4 years ago. Sidled up to a table. I don't even remember what army I was playing. Probably some variant of Space Wolves or Grey Knights. And I came up on a Tau player that he was using a Castle Grayskull as his shield generator, and the Tau were not assembled. They were not fully assembled. They were like spray painted red, and they were legs on bases. And he proceeded to table the crap out of me because it was just ridiculousness. But I was just like, how is this allowed? Like, I put effort. I got on a plane. I have a hotel room. I did all this stuff. And this guy was a local, and he wound up, after our game, he quit the tournament.
Yep. So that was the emotion 4 years ago. And stuff like that got through the cracks 4 years ago at LVO. That's not what's going on now. They are pulling models off of tables. Mm-hmm. They have published a battle-ready guide for your paint jobs and a pretty good video. Shout out to Salty John. The video, what's amazing, would have been awesome if it was embedded in multiple places during the checkout process. But there's 2 videos, and they go into real good detail about what a counts as is versus a conversion, what is allowed, what's not. They show several examples. To me, that is an elevation. Let's celebrate that. Like, battle ready, true guidelines on like, this is not allowed, that's not painted good enough, this is. It's about effort and a guideline. So These are amazing things. This, like, moving forward, this implementation and timeliness. I love to see what happens in 2020 and what they do with this, because I also like now the implementation of like yellow cards. Remember last year, they didn't do much with it because it was new. And this year it's like, if you didn't submit on time or this or that, you just have one. And a lot of people end up getting like their first yellow card like late in the tournament for one reason or another. And like now you're playing differently knowing that you can't get another yellow card, or that you're this.
Yeah.
So, and then I think the year after that, they're going to get even more serious about the floor rules guide, and even more serious about their battle ready guides. But let's hope the timeliness and the implementation and access to this information and the way you submit is more professional and catches up with the girth of this event. Because this event is about to be the biggest miniatures convention in the country in a couple of years at most. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Yep.
I don't think it's gonna be every table. It's gonna be it's gonna be like player policed and what they can see on the top tables. And so I imagine that the numbers at which people are expecting people to get in trouble for this is going to be fairly low, but it's definitely seen a lot of eyes have seen this.
This is going to be like a tattletale code of conduct, code of honor for like at this event. Like it's going to be, they're not going to be out there like it's just too much. It's going to be like, are you going to tattle on this guy right now? And you will, and like feel like you can. First off, like if some dude has got this hobo ass dreadnought painted black and he's just painted the face and painted it white, and he's like, this is my chaplain dreadnought. That's just a standard plastic dreadnought with nothing done to it. And he's clearly trying to meta surf on you and come at you with literally zero hobby effort. That's what it's, that's player policed. Police him. You're a part of the event. Police him, But if the dude has like something sick that might not be exactly the right size and he's cool and he's maybe not meta surfing, then maybe reevaluate it. I'm not telling you yes or no or what to do or a call to action. That's just how I do my game. I feel the guy out. I feel like he's trying to fucking exploit me and he's put zero hobby effort to his list. I'll police him for sure. And so player policing is a big part of this community for now.
Well, I think we'll have a lot to report on next week when we're all back. Because of course I'm going, and then I'll be back, and I'll get on a plane, and we'll have a lot to talk about and see how it kind of shakes out. But I feel like at the end of the day, there's a lot of room for improvement, and I think we all have some very good suggestions on where to improve, and we'll kind of see what direction Games Workshop takes it in, along with Frontline Gaming, of course, on the organizational side of things. So I'm stoked. I think hopefully there's no big crazy drama snafu thing, but other than that, it's gonna be a lot of eyes on this event.
Yeah, no doubt. I think this is it. Think about last year, how many eyes were on it?
Quite a bit.
And this is even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And a more exciting season, even more hype. Man, future is looking hype. I'm stoked. And airbrushing by GW. What the fuck is going on in 2020?
Airbrush is no crime.
Airbrushing.
And the ident that we didn't really talk about, but they released that last week, the little, and for folks who don't know what that is, that's just a little, either a sign on or sign off little thing to say that this is your brand. The easiest one I can think of is if you're watching old Quantum Leap or Knight Rider or all those stuff, they'd have the Donald Belisario or Glenn A. Larson, he'd be typing at a typewriter and then it would show a thing, or the Sit Ubu Sit. More recently, the easiest one I can think of is the Marvel logo before all the Marvel Studios films. That's like an ident. And GW released the one that's for Warhammer, and I was actually really impressed, more so by the music than by the visuals, because I was like, man, they captured Warhammer in 16 seconds of music. It's amazing. Whether it was 40K or fantasy, it was Warhammer.
It was awesome. They also featured their new hot rebrand. You guys may have noticed all year that it doesn't say Games Workshop all big anymore in old 80s letters. It's literally a hammer. It says Warhammer. So this is a part of a rebrand too, to be cooler, slicker, a little bit more visual identity. It was sick. And shout out to Jonathan Hartman, the composer in Hollywood. They brought in on that. That's actually a friend of mine out here who is a humongous Necromunda fan. Actually got my display board from him. It's actually one of his unused tiles for his preposterous Necromunda table that he has at home. He was like, oh, look at this tile. I was like, damn, that's a dope display board. He's like, here you go. And I was like, sick.
Well, he nailed it because it's like, well, how do you sum up Warhammer? Not just 40K, but fantasy in 16 seconds. And he knocked it out of the park.
Well, he's obviously got a mind for it. He's probably been secretly thinking about it for a long time. And
yeah, he nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, getting fans involved who are professionals is so smart, right? Because, like, imagine if you just brought like a regular composer into it, and you were like, "Okay, read a couple 40K novels, figure this shit out." And he's like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Exactly.
No matter how good that dude is, whether or not he's as good as Jonathan or not, like, it's not going to be the same. You know, that dude runs like Necromunda campaigns out of his basement on the daily. You know what I mean? Like, that's his jam, you know? So it was amazing. It was truly inspiring to see. But I think that's it, Rob.
Haspil, take us out.
What am I saying? You guys are pros, the best. I'm sure you can make it out of the casino. Of course, lest we forget, once you're out the front door, you're still in the fucking desert.